In the heart of Ibadan stood a clinic known by every Mother Martin's maternity. Home it was clean, quiet, and always filled with the laughter of newborn babies. People said it was the safest place for pregnant women, and the reason behind that trust was one man, Dr. Martins. He was tall, soft-spoken, and always smiling. He treated every woman like a sister, every husband like a friend. Even children loved him. Whenever he walked through the hospital corridors, nurses greeted him with pride, "Good morning, sir." And he would reply gently, "Morning, my dear. How are the mothers doing today?" To everyone, he was a hero. He had delivered hundreds of babies safely, comforted women during labor, and offered free treatments to the poor. His name was often mentioned in churches. Pastors blessed him, calling him a man sent by God. But behind all that admiration, something darker was hidden, more mysterious tone. Late at night, when everyone had gone home, Dr. Martins would sit alone in his office. He would stare at the hospital files, pictures of pregnant women, their names, their appointment days, and a strange smile would appear on his face. Something about those files gave him power, control. He locked the door behind him and poured himself a glass of drink. He kept telling himself he was a good man, but deep down, he knew he was living a double life. For years, he had been doing something unimaginable, something that no one could ever suspect. From such a respected man, he had mastered his evil. He made it look like care, like medicine, like love for his patients. But only he knew the truth of what he did behind those locked doors. Every morning, his nurses arrived early, preparing the consulting room. They had no idea what went on after hours. He trained them to follow rules, strict ones. No nurse was allowed to stay with him alone during checkups. He would say some women feel shy during examination. "Let me handle it alone," and no one questioned him. After all, he was the great Dr. Martins. Pregnant women from all over the city came to his clinic. Some were rich, some poor. All trusted him. They would say to each other, "If Dr. Martins handles your delivery, you'll come out smiling." Even when some complained of feeling strange after injections, he always had the same gentle explanation. "Oh, don't worry, it's just to calm your blood pressure," and they believed him. Why wouldn't they? His reputation was too strong, his image too perfect. But one woman noticed something others didn't. She was new in town, quiet, observant, and careful. Her name was Anita. She had just found out she was pregnant, her first child. Her husband was overjoyed and said, "You must go to Dr. Martins. He's the best in the city." At first, Anita smiled, but something inside her didn't feel right about that clinic. Each time she passed by it, she felt cold, as if the walls held secrets nobody wanted to see. That evening, Dr. Martins closed his office door after his last patient. He sat back in his chair, exhausted, or pretending to be. Then he opened his drawer and brought out a small bottle. Inside was a clear liquid, one he had used many times before. He looked at it, whispered to himself, "No one will ever know." He placed it back, locked the drawer, and smiled. The night guard greeted him as he left the building. "Good night, doctor." "Good night," he replied, adjusting his white coat. No one could imagine that the man walking out of the hospital gates that night was hiding a secret. In the morning, Anita and her husband would visit his clinic for the first time, and that single visit would change everything. It was a bright Monday morning when Anita and her husband, Samuel, arrived at Martin's maternity home. The clinic smelled of antiseptic and baby powder. Nurses in neat white uniforms walked briskly through the hallway, smiling politely. Everything looked perfect. Samuel held Anita's hand gently. "Don't be nervous, my love," he said. "Dr. Martins is the best. He delivered my sister's twins safely." Anita smiled faintly, but in her heart, something felt uneasy, like a whisper she couldn't ignore. They entered the doctor's office. Dr. Martins stood up as they entered, his face glowing with a warm smile. "Ah, Mr. and Mrs. Samuel, congratulations." His voice was deep and calm, the kind that made people trust without question. He shook Samuel's hand firmly, then turned to Anita. "You're glowing already, my dear. This is your first pregnancy. Right, she nodded shyly. The doctor gestured for her to sit. He asked a few friendly questions: her age, her last menstrual period, how she'd been feeling. Everything seemed normal. Then he said softly, "We'll just do a little routine check, my dear, nothing serious, but Mr. Samuel, I'll need you to wait outside for a few minutes. Some of our procedures are private." Samuel looked at his wife, then at the doctor. "Is that necessary?" "Yes." Dr. Martins replied with a reassuring smile. "We must respect every woman's privacy." Samuel hesitated for a moment, then agreed and stepped out. The door closed. Anita sat quietly as Dr. Martins prepared his tools. He put on his gloves, humming softly like a man who had nothing to hide. But Anita noticed something strange. The nurse who was there before had quietly slipped out of the room. Now it was just the two of them. "Lie down, please," he said. "You'll feel a small prick. It's just a vitamin injection to help your baby." Anita obeyed. She watched as he filled a syringe with a clear liquid from a small bottle. Then he gave her the injection gently on her arm. At first, it was fine, but within minutes, she began to feel dizzy. Her eyelids grew heavy. Her hands felt numb. "Doctor, I feel." She tried to speak, but her words faded. Dr. Martins smiled softly. "Don't worry, dear, just relax." Her vision blurred. The ceiling started spinning. Her heartbeat slowed. She wasn't fully asleep, not yet. She could hear faint movements around her, feel someone near her, but she couldn't lift her hands or turn her head. And then she felt something that made her spirit scream. She wanted to shout, but her mouth wouldn't move. Her body was frozen. Her mind screamed inside, "Wake up, Anita, wake up!" But she couldn't. Everything went dark. Then morning birds. When Anita opened her eyes, she was lying on the clinic bed. Her clothes had been adjusted neatly. Dr. Martins was writing notes on his table, acting calm. "Oh, you fainted for a while," he said softly. "Don't worrying, that happens sometimes with the injection. You'll be fine." She looked confused and weak. "How long was I out?" "Only a few minutes," he smiled. "You're safe here." Anita nodded slowly, though something deep in her heart said otherwise. Her body felt different, heavy, strange. When she stood to leave, her legs trembled outside. Samuel rushed to her. "Are you okay? You look pale." "I'm fine," she whispered. "Let's just go home." That night, Anita couldn't sleep. She sat alone in the living room, thinking about everything that happened. Why did the nurse leave? Why did she feel dizzy after a vitamin injection? And why couldn't she remember a part of what happened in that room? Her heart raced as she tried to push away the thoughts, but she couldn't. Tears rolled down her cheeks as she whispered, "Something is not right. Something happened." She didn't know that her suspicion was right and that the doctor she trusted was hiding a darkness far greater than she could imagine. That night, the rain refused to stop. Thunder rolled far in the distance, and the city streets glistened under flickering lights. Inside their small apartment, Anita sat silently on the edge of the bed, her hands trembling. Samuel, her husband, was already asleep, but she couldn't close her eyes. The moment she did, she saw flashes, blurred memories of the clinic, the cold room, the needle, the doctor's voice saying, "Just relax." And then nothing but darkness. She touched her arm where the injection had gone in. It still felt sore, but what frightened her most wasn't the pain. It was the feeling that something wrong had been done to her, something she couldn't explain. Her heart raced. She stood up. She could not sleep, still thinking about it. The reflection staring back at her looked pale and frightened, like a stranger. "What did he do to me?" she whispered. "Why can't I remember everything?" Tears filled her eyes. She wanted to tell Samuel, but how could she? Would he believe her? "Anita, come back to bed," he mumbled. "You're worrying too much." She sat beside him and said quietly, "Samuel, something is wrong. I think something happened to me at the clinic." He turned to her, confused. "What are you saying?" "I don't know how to explain it," she said. "I was awake, but I couldn't move. I heard things, I felt things, and then everything went black." Samuel frowned. "Anita, you fainted," the doctor said. "It's normal. You're just scared. Don't let your mind play tricks." She shook her head, tears running down her face. "No, Samuel, it wasn't a dream. I know what I felt, but Samuel only sighed, please. Stop thinking about it. Dr. Martens is a good man. Everyone knows him. Don't say things like that. He rolled over and fell asleep again. Anita sat there, staring at the wall, feeling more alone than ever. That night, Anita cried silently. She pressed a pillow to her mouth so her sobs wouldn't wake her husband. Every tear carried anger, confusion, and fear. If what she suspected was true, how many other women had suffered the same thing? How many had gone home believing the doctor's lies? Her heart ached. She prayed softly, God, if he truly did something to me, please expose him, show me the truth. The next day, Anita tried to act normal. She smiled at her husband, cooked breakfast, and forced herself to eat. But her mind wouldn't rest. She began reading about drugged patients online, about women who had been tricked by doctors. Each story felt too close to hers. It made her heart pound faster. She realized she needed proof. Without evidence, no one would believe her, not even her own husband. Later that day, inside her room, Anita opened her small drawer and found an old voice recorder her brother once used for school. She held it tightly, her hands shaking. If I go back, she whispered, I'll record everything. He won't fool me again. Her eyes hardened with determination, ear turned to strength. That night, she barely slept, planning every step. In another part of the city, Dr. Martens sat in his office, sipping tea and writing on a patient file. He smiled to himself, completely unaware that his next visitor, the woman he thought he had silenced, was about to become his biggest mistake. The sun was barely up when Anita opened her eyes. She hadn't slept much. Her mind had been racing all night. Today was the day she would go back to Martin's maternity home. But this time, not as a patient, as a woman seeking the truth. She stood before the mirror and whispered to herself, no more fear. I must know what he's hiding. She wore a long gown with a small inner pocket, where she carefully hid a tiny voice recorder. She tested it 3 times before leaving the house. Every click, every beep, she knew exactly how it worked. Samuel had gone to work early, still believing everything was fine. He kissed her on the forehead before leaving, saying, don't stress yourself today. You and the baby need peace. Anita only smiled faintly, hiding the fire burning inside her as she walked toward the clinic. Her hands trembled slightly. The building looked the same, bright walls, gentle nurses, cheerful posters about safe motherhood. But to Anita, everything looked different now. She saw it for what it was, a place that hid evil behind kindness inside. She met the same nurse as before, a young lady named Chenier. Good morning, Ma, the nurse greeted. Good morning, Anita replied calmly, forcing a smile. Doctor has been expecting you, Chenier said, leading her to the familiar room. Anita's heart began to race. Every step felt heavier. When they entered, Dr. Martens looked up from his table, his usual warm smile on his face. Ah, my dear Anita, welcome back. How are you feeling today? I'm fine, doctor, she said softly, pressing the button on her recorder inside her dress. It began recording silently. Good, he said, standing up. We'll just do a small follow-up check. Then he turned to the nurse and said the words Anita had expected. Chenier, you may leave us for a moment. The nurse obeyed immediately and stepped out, closing the door behind her. Dr. Martens moved closer, pretending to check Anita's pulse. Your blood pressure seems fine, he said, but I'll give you another dose of vitamins. It will help you rest better. Anita watched closely as he picked up a syringe and drew a clear liquid from a small bottle, the same bottle she remembered from her first visit. Her stomach tightened with fear. Doctor, what kind of vitamin is this? She asked quietly. He looked up, smiling gently. Oh, just a mix of minerals. Don't worry about that. Anita's hands were shaking, but she stayed calm. Can you show me the label? She pressed. His eyes flickered just for a second, then he laughed lightly. You're a careful one. That's good. But trust me, it's safe. He turned slightly away from her, and that was when Anita noticed it. He wasn't filling the syringe from a standard pack. The bottle he used had no label. It was something else entirely. Her fear deepened. She shifted slightly in her chair, pretending to feel dizzy to see what he would do next. "Oh dear," he said softly. Moving closer, "Relax. My dear, just close your eyes." Her heart pounded. She knew what was coming. He injected her arm again. Her body began to weaken just like before. But this time, she fought to stay awake. Her eyelids fluttered. Her breathing slowed, but she stayed conscious enough to hear. "Yes, good, just sleep," his voice whispered near her ear. Then she heard faint sounds, clothes rustling, movement, and the doctor's soft breathing. Every moment burned into her memory. Tears rolled down her cheeks, but she couldn't move. The recorder captured everything, every sound, every whisper. Minutes later, everything went silent again. New sound: door opens. Footsteps. When Anita woke up, the nurse was back in the room. "Auntie, you fainted again," Ochinier said softly. "Doctors say make you rest small." "Where is he?" Anita asked weakly. "He just stepped out," the nurse replied, adjusting the bedsheet. Anita nodded, slowly reached into her pocket, and turned off the recorder. Her eyes glistened with silent determination. "Thank you," she said softly, standing up. "Are you okay?" "Ma, yes, I'm fine now, but inside." She wasn't fine. She was broken and angry that night. Anita sat alone in her room with the recorder on the table. She pressed play. The sound that came out made her heart stop. The whispers, the movement. He lies. Her worst nightmare had become proof. Tears filled her eyes as she whispered, "Now no one can say I'm lying." The next morning, she would walk into the police station and the whole city would finally hear the doctor's secret. The next morning, the city woke up to a calm Saturday, but for Anita, it was not just another day. It was the day she decided to fight back. She stood by her window for a long time, staring at the street below. Her hands shook slightly, but her spirit was steady. She held the small voice recorder close to her chest, the tiny device that carried her pain, her truth, her evidence. "No woman should ever go through this again," she whispered. She dressed quietly, wore a simple gown, and tied her scarf. There was no makeup, no jewelry, just courage. Then she left home and took a cab straight to the State Criminal Investigation Department. The officer on duty looked up as she walked in. "Good morning. Ma, can I help you?" Anita took a deep breath. "I have proof against Dr. Martins of Martins Maternity Home." The officer frowned slightly. "You mean Dr. Martins, the gynecologist?" "Yes," she said firmly. "He has been drugging and abusing pregnant women. I was one of them." The officer's expression changed immediately. Within minutes, she was taken to a female investigator's office. Her name was Inspector Grace, a calm but strong woman with sharp eyes. "Tell me everything," Inspector Grace said softly. Anita told her everything, from the injections to the dizziness, to waking up confused, to the whispers she recorded. When she finished, there was silence in the room. Then Anita pressed play on the recorder. Playback sound low. Chilling whispers, muffled movements. Inspector Grace's eyes widened. Her jaw tightened with anger. "This is enough," she said. "We're arresting him today." Police sirens faint in the background. Two unmarked police vehicles drove straight to Martin's maternity home. The patients and nurses were already there for their normal checkups. Dr. Martins was standing in his office, wearing his usual smile. When the door burst open, Dr. Martins, Inspector Grace said, flashing her badge, "You are under arrest for multiple counts of assault, drugging, and abuse of patients." The entire clinic froze. "What nonsense is this?" Dr. Martins shouted, stepping back. "Do you know who I am?" "Yes," she replied coldly. "A man who has been hiding behind a white coat for too long." Two officers stepped forward and handcuffed him. "You can't do this." "I'm innocent," he yelled. Struggling. "Then you'll prove it in court," the inspector replied. Outside, people gathered in shock as they watched the once respected doctor being led away in handcuffs. Cameras flashed. Reporters shouted questions. The nurses stood frozen, some crying, some shaking their heads in disbelief. Anita stood quietly across the street, her scarf covering half her face. Tears ran down her cheeks, not of sadness, but of relief. "It's over," she whispered. Within days, the story spread like wildfire across the state. Famous doctor arrested for abusing pregnant women. The news channels, newspapers, and social media all carried the same headline. Women started coming forward one after another telling similar stories, and every time they did, Anita's courage gave them strength in court. When the evidence was played, the recorder's sound filled the room with silence. Dr. Martins couldn't speak, his face turned pale. He lowered his head, his mask finally gone. The judge's words were firm. You used your position to destroy lives. Now you will spend yours behind bars. The gavel struck bang months later. Martin's maternity home was shut down permanently. The government turned it into a free women's health center named Anita Foundation for Safe Motherhood. Anita visited it on opening day. She stood in front of the new signboard with quiet pride. Children ran around, nurses smiled, and pregnant women received care without fear. Inspector Grace walked up beside her and said, "You did this, Anita, because you spoke up. Others will be safe." Anita smiled faintly. "I just wanted the truth too." When she looked up at the sky and whispered to every woman still afraid, "Your voice matters. No secret stays hidden forever. No evil can hide behind kindness forever." And sometimes all it takes is one brave heart to expose the monster in the white coat. Evil can wear a gentle face. Not everyone who smiles or helps is truly good. Always be alert. Even when someone looks trustworthy, silence protects the guilty. When we keep quiet about wrong things, they continue to destroy others. Speaking up can save many lives. Courage brings justice. Anita was scared, but she chose to fight for truth, and because of that, many women will never suffer again. No secret stays hidden forever. No matter how powerful a person is, one day the truth will come out. So I want to use this opportunity to tell you that Jesus loves you, and he said he's coming very soon. Me and you don't know when it's coming. He can come at any time we did not expect it. Is now that is not yet come that we have the chance and the opportunity to give our life to him, accept him as our Lord and personal Savior. No matter how far you are gone with your sin, he will still forgive you. Give your life to him today. He's waiting. Thank you for watching. If you learned from this story, don't forget to subscribe. Turn on the notification bell so you don't miss our next story.